Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics. This is episode number 1770. Let's see here. 73 and Doubleshot number 1667. Got two vendor trades. First one collecting a crossover that happened in 1992. And this is Avengers Epic Collection, Volume 22, collecting the classic crossover Operation Galactic Storm. Yep. Now, this book collects pretty much the entire event, except for the What If issue where the event they actually lost this Operation Galactic Storm. Now, this book collects issues of Captain America issues 398 through 401, along with Avengers West Coast issues 80 to 82. I believe it's 82, right? It doesn't have the page I have here. Let's see. I think it's here 82. I think it is. Okay, it's 82. Quasar 32 to 34. Wonder Man 729, Iron Man 270, 279, Thor 445, 46, Captain America, 398 to 441, basically some material from them. Yes. Now, who writes these books particularly? Mark Greenwald writes Captain America and Quasar, obviously. Now, the other writers listed here are Roy and Dan Thomas, who write Avengers West Coast at this time. Gerald Jones, Bob Harris, Len Kaminski, and Tom DeFalco. Len Kaminski, I believe, was writing the Iron Man issues at this point. Tom DeFalco, I think, was working on Thor. Gerald Jones, I think he may be working on Wonder Man. Oh, by the way, this whole event came up from March to pretty much June of 1992. Now, Operation Galactic Storm, obviously, is a nod to Operation Desert Storm, which happened the previous year. Obviously. Yes, the name itself pretty much was a nod to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's simple. You could say this is simple. The Avengers get involved with stuff related to the X-Men because it involves the Shi'ar Empire. Yes. The What If issues that were originally collected in the Aftermath, it was actually there were actually some Aftermath stuff that actually were not collected in trade, surprisingly. Yes, there is Wonder Man number 10, Avengers West Coast 83, Silver Surfer number 79, from volume 3 of the series. What If 5556, X Unlimited number 5, Avengers Forever number 8. Yes, as for let's see, I think the original trade does collect some of the Aftermath stuff of this thing. Actually, no, it doesn't. It does collect the What If issues. Yes, it does. But that's all. That's the only difference between this Epic Collection and the original Operation at the Storm trades was that they collected the What If issues. Mm-hmm. Yes. It is interesting, though, that Mark Greenwald himself writes a good portion of the story. I mean, yeah. And mostly put, this basically kind of starts in Captain America, obviously. Now, the artwork for these issues are done by multiple writers. Rick Livens, Dave Ross, Greg Capello. That's an interesting name. Greg Capello. Yes. As in the guy who was basically artist behind the critically acclaimed Scott Snyder Batman run. Jeff Johnson, Skip Epting. I believe he still does some artwork this very day. Paul Ryan. That's a familiar name. Some of my Epic Collection reviews. Rick Tyler, Pat Offey, and Stephen B. Jones. Anyone think is any familiar names in these issues? Well, the front cover artwork is of Steve Epting, Tom Palmer, and Veronica Genie. The back cover is by Greg Apollo and Harry Carnino. Yeah, basically you start off with stuff related to Captain America and stuff with the Kree. Rick Jones is mildly involved in the story. You could say this story is sort of a semi-sequel to the Kree Skrull War, because there's a lot of references to it when, of course, Captain America is attacked by a bunch of Kree robots, and that leads into stuff related to Avengers West Coast. Obviously written by Roy and Dan Thomas. Yes. Now, of course, this basically when the West Coast basically are informed of the conflict. For some reason, this is the way Roy Dan Thomas wrote this, where apparently he first viewed the West Coast team as Iron Man's team, and he couldn't contact the Avengers. Yes, this is seriously how Roy Thomas wrote Captain America in this very issue. You read this issue, you're like, man, that sounds so stupid. Heck, even Hawkeye points that out, though. He goes, hey, come on, Tim, man, I know you and Cap got mad at each other, but we're also Avengers. Still, Cap couldn't set Avengers East Coast. You got a point there, Spee. I'm not sure what he calls that for. Yeah, I thought this is kind of dumb, but the part of I don't know if you want to blame this particular writing for Captain America in this issue on either Roy Thomas or Dan Thomas. I don't know because I've never met either of them. Now, Dan Thomas, if you don't know who this person is, this is Roy Thomas' second wife, and she worked with him a lot on various comics he worked on. This book was one of them, along with All-Star Squadrons, really good series, I highly recommend it. Young All-Stars, and I don't think she worked on Infinity Inc. with him, no. But it was like classic JSA stuff in the 80s. Yep. So, and of course the Korean Shi'ars are fighting each other. The West Coast get brought in. Yeah, it takes a little bit for stuff to get organized. And then we have, in part 3 of the story, we have the Imperial Guard assault Mar-Vell's tomb. As in the late Captain Mar-Vell. Okay, you want a good sample of Greg Capullo's artwork from 1992? Here you go. It is really good. Oh my gosh, wow. I'm going to talk to Greg Capullo about this, about the fact that I reviewed one of the events he worked on from the 90s. Yeah, such good stuff here. Him and Mark Greenwald, like, I will ask him, what was it like working with Mark Greenwald on this very book? Yeah, it's almost like this was sort of a semi-love letter to Captain Marvel, the original one, of course. Yep, by going after his tomb. Yep. And then part 4 is in Wonder Man number 7. And who writes this? Gerald Jones, which I think this may have been his only book he worked at DC on. Because when people think of Gerald Jones, let me. People think of books like his run for Green Lantern Mosaic. By the way, that writer is 64 now. These are books he worked on. People are very familiar with this work. Well, here's the thing. One interesting about him. He did the English translation for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. He worked on a couple books, basically Linkara, basically the reviews for Batman Jazz and Batman Force's Son. He was a writer for the initial writer for Green Lantern Volume 3, where he was replaced by Ron Martz. He did the Emerald Dawn, the 2 miniseries, the Green Lantern Mosaic, the Guy Gardner book, the opening 10 issues. He replaced, I think it was Keith Giffen on Justice League Europe, who was relaunched as Justice League International Volume 2. He was the last writer who worked on Justice League America prior to his ending. He did a one-shot for Martian Manhunter. He worked on some stuff for Malibu Comics Prime. This actually, I believe, was actually his only Marvel book he worked on. Yes, I believe it was. Which seems quite strange that of all books, basically, Gerald Jones worked on, and yet this is the only Marvel book he worked on. Which seems quite strange, but it's indeed true. This is the only book he worked on. Yes, I thought that was kind of weird. Well, there's a reason why he won't write comics anymore. Apparently, he's in jail. For the same reason that, believe it or not, the original voice actor for Isuke from High School DxD was arrested for possession of child porn. Yeah. Love the guy's work. Yeah, that was a stupid thing he did. Yeah, still respect the guy's work though. Yeah, mainly like what he did, but I still love the guy's work. The guy definitely is a really damn good writer. Yeah, unknown why he never did any more work for Marvel after he did his Wonder Man book. Yes, and if you're curious though, did he do all 29 issues of this book? Yep, he did. Also, he was the English translator for Ram Half. Yep. It's weird though that he was the only writer for this book. Yep. Yes, and I believe this was the only event Wonder Man was ever involved with. Because if you think about it, I don't think this book was ever involved with any event aside from Operation Galactic Storm. Yes, that's one thing I thought was kind of weird. Like, if you read this book, there's like nothing in the book basically that says he couldn't do anything else related to, like. Now I have reviewed the first volume for for Wonder Man. It was a one shot. It was one of the West Coast stuff. Now you might be thinking, aside from Operation Galactic Storm, was there any other events that this series was involved with? Well, he did do a couple issues of Infinity War. He did... What was this one? I see the cover here. Let's see. I'm looking at his covers. Nope. Just this event and Infinity War. And that was it. And you're thinking, really? In the 3 years this book basically was out, and he only did 2 events? Yeah, it's kind of weird. Okay, so aside from this book, okay, he did work on other books at Marvel. He worked on Marvel Presents, this is Joe Jones. He worked in the series Idol, which I think was like 3 issues. It was basically kind of like a book for... Looks like a book for Malibu, possibly. Oh, Epic Comics. Okay. It was some published Epic Comics. Okay. Both Marvel Comics Presents, Wonder Man. He worked on the Soul Annual, working on stuff for 29 Unlimited. Mostly a lot of stuff with Malibu, because the only reason I put it on him is because Marvel owns it. I worked on some stuff for Hulk 2099. We had worked on that book. The last book he worked on was Fantastic Four Fireworks. He also did The Shadow of Light, first issue of that. But this miniseries came out in 1998. And you're thinking, really? 98? That was like about 24 years ago. Yep, and that was the last book he did for Marvel, this very miniseries. Yep. So Wonder Man gets involved with this stuff, and then we get the cover, which is basically from Avengers. Avengers is done by Bob Harris. Yes, Bob Harris, who at one point was editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. Yep. So we get sort of basically, it's not until like several parts into the story we finally get basically some organization, because basically it seems like a bunch of random stuff happening. So basically they had to split into teams. And I'll deal with the Earth team, the team with the Shi'ar. Now the Earth team, now the ones basically taking on the Korean Empire are Captain Marvel, U.S. Agent, Iron Man, Crystal, Hercules, Black Knight, and Cersei. For the ones taking on the Shi'ar, Thor. I should point out this is not Thor Odinson. This actually is Eric Masterson under that mask. Wonder Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel. This is Monica Rambeau. Star Fox. Yes, there's a character named Star Fox at Marvel. He's basically Thanos' brother. And Captain Marvel. And this basically, Hawkeye basically is upset with Cap over this. Air Force is comprised of She-Hulk, Falcon, Mockingbird, Spider-Woman, Hank Pym and the Wasp, Gilgamesh, and Hawkeye. And pretty much we have two pages that basically just the same thing. Like basically Hawkeye calling Cap a lunatic. And so basically Hawkeye becomes Goliath again. First time since the 70s, he actually put on this outfit like, okay, fine. We'll switch over U.S. agent. And of course, he did pretty much the same exact freaking pose. Well, it's the artist for you. Yeah, heck, it's the same exact language. They pretty much repeated the same thing and just swapped out characters like the following page. And then we have Quasar in contact with her Who is her, you might ask? Adam Warlock's wife. No, seriously. And then at the end of the issue, Deathbird from the X-Men comics. Even though she made her first appearance in the Miss Mara book. Yeah, and here's a little strange fact for you. Carol Danvers is nowhere in this story. No, seriously, she isn't. So basically, with part number 6, 5 parts is where they finally get organized to basically deal with the threats. So yeah, if Iron Man, you see from his side of view, and we see Thor, we see, well, Eric Masterson take on freaking Gladiator from the X-Men comics. Yeah, this is just so fun. I love this event. By the end, the Kree Supreme Intelligence is killed. By the end of the event, at one point, the Avengers team, the Kree team, is surrendering, but Hawkeye is, of course, Ronan basically steps in. But yeah, this event is just so fun. It's just a really fun event to read, and I thoroughly enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then of course we have this weird thing in Avengers West Coast 81 where U.S. Agent wants to get into a fight with She-Hulk. And everyone's like, yeah, we'll see that. No problem. Yeah, and then we had U.S. Agent look like he's flirting with Mockingbird, despite the fact I think they're trying to divorce. Like Hawkeye and Mockingbird trying to divorce. And of course, basically, he throws a sexist comment at her and she flips him over. Just like how contested is Nick Fury. And of course, this is actually one of her newer attires because she shows off her sexy legs and part of her rear end. Because it's the 90s, what do you expect? Yep. Lots of really good action here. And this just, like I said, fun event. Like I said, at the end, the Supreme Intelligence is defeated. And also, basically the Kree forces surrender by the end of this event. And Deathbird's put in charge of the Kree Empire. This doesn't last very long because by 20 years later, this is completely forgotten about because basically the Supreme Intelligence is back. Yeah. But definitely a damn good event. I mean, if you're curious though, what rating do I give the Operation Galactic Storm trade and of course the event? A 10 out of 10 is that damn good of an event. Now, weirdly enough, of all the series that tie into this event, Thor, Avengers, and Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Avengers, these series can still continue no problem afterwards. Iron Man would last for a few more years before getting relaunched. Wonder Man would last after this event concludes for about 20 more issues before it was canceled. West Coast, 20 more issues before it got canceled. Quasar would last for another 26 issues before getting canceled. Yep. Yeah, and then of course we have a follow-up event to this one. We have War of Kings. Yes. And this event, despite lasting for a few months, it is awesome. I love it. Alright, next up it is Avengers Academy. Fear itself. This collects Avengers Academy issues 14 to 20 and 14.1. The first portion of these issues have nothing to do with Fear itself. Nope. Now, by the way, second to last trailer review for Avengers Academy because I reviewed most of the series already. The only trailer left of this one is just final exams. And that's it. The first issue has, you have Hank Pym and Quicksilver in Italy dealing with a volcano. And then you have the Avengers Academy kids take on the Sinister Six. Yes, Sinister Six, because apparently at this point in time, for some strange reason, Marvel had them appear in several books at this period of time. I think it was just either 4 after this. They had also appeared in pages of Iron Man for a quick 3-parter. Yes, because Dr. Octopus really wanted to go after, of all people, Tony Stark to help him with his condition. Yeah. Though 2 people were injured thanks to this event, Tigra and Reptile. And of course, basically the way things are, it's like the kids arguing with him. Of course, Stryker himself is arguing with Quicksilver saying, I'm trying to build my career here and you're basically being stupid. Yeah. 14.1 has them take on Ruby Tuesday. Yep. Sexy woman with a robot head. Yep. And the way this book is written, I think some people might have been turned off by this book, thanks to his attitude. It's to put the adults basically just being too adultish and just, well, and of course this issue here was an introduction to Jeremy Briggs, a character who would appear after Fear itself. Yep. And this whole point in time, this whole point one just introduction to him. 15 to pretty much 20 is simply put toward the end of an era when it comes to this book. Well, the end of the first place Avengers Academy called home. Yes, so basically a lot of this whole issue take place during Fear itself, with everything going haywire, and you have Giant Man, Giant Man, yes, Giant Man, take on, of all people. Yeah, and of course they get semi-involved with Fear itself, and of course told to go home. Yeah, and of course you have Giant Man taking on the Absorbing Man and Titania when they're basically members of the Worthy. Yep. And this last, these two appear in this book the whole time. You have Vale being a hero, using her powers really well. Saving a little girl, looking for her mother, helps her out, and it's really good. Basically helps put her out, just really well in here. And then of course the woman is killed by a Nazi robot. And of course Vale kills the Nazi pilot because he works for the female Red Skull, obviously. Yep. And the kid takes away, and it's a good moment there, but this kind of leads to the reason what happens with her at the end of this event. Yeah, more fighting. And then somehow, and this is quite weird, the fact that they're safe and sound in the Infinite Avengers Mansion, somehow the Absorber finds this damn place. And I'm thinking, how the heck did he find the Infinite Avengers Mansion? They're in another dimension. Yeah. So yeah, they break in and they cause mayhem in the entire Infinite Avengers Mansion. Of course, you have these two. Of course, they make out because they're husband and wife. And, well, lots of really good stuff here. And there's stuff with Bug from the Microverse. Yes, Bug. Because basically, apparently, that's what they are. The Microverse. You have Metal. You have, well, Giant Man ending up on an aircraft carrier, the Persian Gulf. You have the heroes, and then we have Reptile making out with Venice, and she's like, what? And then she really enjoys it. Yep. And of course you have Hazmat who kisses Mattel, who, by the way, I'm not going to spoil this, but something really good happens at the end of the series. More fighting here. The Avengers Mansion is brought to regular reality, where it is finally destroyed. Yeah, the Avengers Mansion destroyed issue 19. And then pretty much 20 is just the aftermath issue. Vale quits at the end of issue 19. And then in the following issue, Justin Speedball quit. The reason why they quit is because Marvel, somebody at Marvel really wanted them to go over to Nova to help basically do a backdoor pilot to a short-lived New Warriors book, which I really enjoyed. Yep. So yeah, basically deal with the aftermath of Fear itself. After Fear itself, in case you're curious to what happened in the aftermath, the Avengers Tower was destroyed by, well, a warrior possessed thing throwing the Red Hulk through the damn thing and then dropping the frickin' tower right on top of him. Yes, seriously, happening 10 years after 9/11. So, basically, thanks to Captain America, they got the tower fixed. But during the post-Fear itself stuff, the main team Avengers operated out of the Avengers Mansion. Yes, the mansion. For the first time since 2004. Yes, but after this whole thing wrapped up, the tower was reopened in the first issue of Avengers Assembled. Kind of weird, though. Yes. So, with people quitting, and of course they had a new roster, they expand upon the roster of the group. And like, okay, so where are they going to build a school? The Avengers Manager's gone. So where do they go? To the former headquarters of the Avengers West Coast. The Avengers Compound. Yep. We have Tiger and Hank Pym kiss. And then they have brand new people part of this team. Some of whom basically would quit by 28. No, seriously. And these are your people who join. We have Sentinel from the short-lived Sentinel book. We have Lightspeed from Power Pack. Excuse me. We have White Tiger. This actually is the third White Tiger. It's kind of confused, basically, because he's the younger sister of the original White Tiger, even though she's also the aunt of the predecessor. Let's see. There's also Kevin Masterson, who's the son of Thunderstrike. Yeah, he becomes a Thunderstrike after the events of, well, a miniseries. Yes. You have Lyra, who is basically Hulk's daughter, some other guy, and by issue 25, half this roster would leave. Because they also have people like Machine Teen, Rocket Racer, and these people quit by 26, and they basically join Jeremy Briggs. And that's ending until the final arc of the series, Final Exams. This book is awesome. I love it. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Now, we're not done yet, Avengers Academy. Oh no. There is one trade left, and that's Final Exams, which collects the final, I believe it's the final 6 issues of the series, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Final Exam starts with issue, I think it was like 34. Yes, I believe it does, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yes. And I believe I thought it was because I believe it's like a 5-part, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, the final 5 issues, because I remember the series ended at 39. Yes. Yep. But the Final Exam itself thing, that's only for like 4 issues. It's like 34, 37, the last 2 issues are like just the conclusion of the series, which I will get to that when I talk about the Final Exams trade, because it's basically collecting the last 6 issues of the series. Yep. And I will, in fact, discuss that whenever I get my hands on that trade. So, yes, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. I was going to do 2 more comic corners tonight, but because of 10 o'clock, got to do it tomorrow. Yep. So, yeah, that's going to be a video tonight, so until you see you tomorrow. Bye.